of people like to say that long term, 5, 10 years or longer, you can't outperform the S&P 500. And maybe that's true, and maybe there are some other investments that have outperformed it in the last 5 and 10 years. So let's take a look, and we'll talk about why some people still prefer the S&P 500 as a benchmark or foundation to their portfolio, but also opt for some other investments as well that can have larger, more disproportionate returns on the shorter time frames, 5, 10 years. Usually I do like the screenshot with like the green screen behind me and I point to shit, but I'm too lazy to do that today, so I'm just gonna film the computer. SPLG is the S&P 500 ETF that I own, so I'm going to use that as the basis of this video, but VOO and SPY and all the others are fine. They're all the exact same. In the last 5 years, SPLG is up 133%, and in the last 10 years, it is up 176%. Remember these two numbers, 133% in 5 years, and 176% in 10. Up first, we have QQQ, which is a very popular well, it's tech heavy, but it's not 100% tech. It's like 50% tech ETF, and you can see 170% in the last 5 years and 367% in the last 10 years. SCHG is another large tech-focused ETF. It's around 47% tech, and you can see 176% in the last 5 years and 292% in the last 10. If you want all technology, 100% technology, we have F-Tech. There are several others, but I'm just using this one in the video. Up 183% in 5 years and 437% in the last 10. If you want a sector-specific ETF, SMH is a semiconductor-only ETF, and you can see that in the last 5 years, it's up a massive 300%, and in the last 10 years, it is up 736%. And we're gonna talk about some of these massive gainers in a second. Of course, we can't neglect individual stocks. You can see Apple up 264% in 5 years and 614% in 10. In the last 5 years, Nvidia is up 1,800%. And in the last 10 years, it's up almost 23,000%. Netflix has done very well, up 191% in 5 years and 1,500% in the last 10. Even Chipotle is up 282% in 5 years and 281% in 10. Take a look at AutoZone here, up 335% in 5 years and 433% in 10. And you can't neglect Bitcoin, which is up 1,200% in 5 years. It's also up around 19,000% since inception, but for some reason the chart doesn't show that here. And I know a lot of people are going to say, hey man, you're cherry picking. You're only showing the biggest gainers. Yeah, because the comment says you still can't outperform the S&P over a 5 to 10 year period. So we're not talking about stuff that underperformed or went down. We're talking about stuff that overperformed. Why do people still want the S&P 500 as the stepping stone, the building block, the first step? And that's because a lot of the time people come to these other ETFs and individual stocks a little late to the dance, right? Nvidia up 23,000% in a decade. Just because it did it last decade doesn't mean that it'll do it next decade. A lot of these can have wildly huge returns in very short periods of time because there's a lot of hype and FOMO and excitement about that sector, like the semiconductor, the Van Eck semiconductor ETF. A lot of people were very excited. Oh my God, smart technology. And there was that moment when it did extremely well, but it might not consistently do that well over a 10, 20, or 30-year period, which is why still people opt for S&P first, and then they go and they find other stuff. And yeah, sometimes people get to these things a little bit late, going, well, it went up 1,000% in the last decade, so I think it'll do 1,000% in the next. Maybe not. Maybe their massive boom and their massive growth has cooled, and now they're going to only go up, a couple 100% in a decade. Still very good though. So people love that peace of mind that comes with decades of back testing for the S&P 500 as their main investment. But it doesn't mean that you should neglect other investments, because there could be disproportionately higher returns on the short term with some stuff. You just got to learn how to research, which you can do by hitting that follow. See you later.